Taycan, 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 Taycan. Yes! Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Wray's Garage. Today we're going to be looking at the new Porsche Taycan. I'm going to try and catch you up on where the vehicle is now and where it began, which you may or may not know. The images you're looking at, while the quality is a little low, that's by nature of the fact that this is an application that I'm unable to re-find on the Play Store or on iOS, on the Apple Store. So I'm not sure, you may find it, you may not, but it's a pretty good way to get a good look at the Taycan and put it in your garage, which I thought was pretty fun and cool. At this stage of the game, you've probably figured out electric has somewhat had a bit of a takeover effect on Wray's Garage. And the question today is, and for the next several months for that matter, is there maybe a Porsche replacement for displacement? A very uncomfortable question for any gearheads and for Porsche itself, because obviously as a brand, it's got a lot to accomplish to straddle the line of electric and obviously their very storied combustion engine history. Getting back to the Taycan, the subject at hand, much is still unknown. I do have an allocation at Porsche Chandler here in Arizona that I may or may not ultimately execute on, but the idea of this particular video series will be to track the journey as I moved closer and closer to it, firm up the specs, firm up the look, and today I'll talk about, and you've seen here, what the initial impressions were, and kind of play catch up and then obviously carry you through. What started in 2015 as the Porsche Mission E has now become the Taycan, and internally is known by the job name or internal naming convention of J1 project. So that's all underway. The GT3 at one point in time was my dream car, probably not unlike many of you, but I'm just wondering if buying a dinosaur at the point of extinction makes sense. Obviously extremely controversial and subject to some flack in the comments below, but I still think the EVs, with some refinements, could easily take over, eventually, the driving world. Let me give you some key specs, and these are the tentative specs as Porsche is yet to confirm all the full and final information here, but the vehicle will be, in theory, equipped with two electric motors. It will be all-wheel drive, supposed to be able to put down 600 horsepower or more, get to 0 to 60 in under 3.5 seconds, which is comparable to Tesla's performance vehicles, however probably not going to touch, maybe in the upper trim level, the new and upcoming Roadster from Tesla. The real place where Porsche seems to be making a mark, there are two key areas that stand out to me. One is in the charging system. They're trying to get to a higher powered charging system to overcome one of the main pain points with owning EVs, and that is the pain point of charging times. So there's an 800 volt system in theory attached to this vehicle. The network will obviously be much smaller than Tesla's network of charging stations, and I imagine that will take some time to build up, but I think speed to charging will offset some of the range anxiety, especially in a world where there's a really fleshed out network. Once the vehicles are launched in the sedan, there will be a sedan and a sport crossover version. I think the Taycan sedan 4-door will be in the market first, and then followed shortly thereafter, allegedly, the Cross Turismo, which is more of a sport utility vehicle. And I'll grab some pictures and throw those out there for you. Another question that looms large in this space, and Porsche hopes to overcome, especially in their marketing, they're already talking about this notion of a soul of a vehicle, and they hope that to be able to put a soul in a vehicle in the EV market. The other things that they talk about are delivering the performance of a Porsche, the design traits, design features, design cues of Porsche's new and old, And let's not kid ourselves, while they're not rushing to market with EVs, they've clearly accepted that this has some stake in their future, and they did start out with an electric car 100 years ago. A lot of the information I'm going to be sharing with you now and as we go forward can be found coming from Porsche directly, coming from forums, specifically the Taycan forum at taycanforum.com. I'll put links below. Porsche Taycan also has a YouTube channel, and any press information I can gather from a Jalopnik and company, that will all form part of what I'll be posting out here on a go-forward basis. My allocation spot is number 44. 2020 is the model year that they're supposed to release with the first round of Taycans, which will allegedly and hopefully be delivered here in 2019. But there's very sparse information, even at the dealer level, to give any indication of when they may hit the streets. That said, the more recent news has indicated that Porsche intends on and is capable of, through their factories, delivering 40,000 per year from initial projections of only planning to build 20,000. And then they do plan, and they announced this week, which is the week of end of January of 2019, 3 years in supercharging included. Again, network is going to be a big asterisk, meaning where on earth will these charging stations be outside of Porsche dealerships. Price-wise, while it's not confirmed, it wasn't long ago there was a rumor and even an article flying around that there will be 3 trim levels introduced of the Taycan. And I've heard this in other spaces as well. The pricing is supposed to land between a Panamera and a Cayenne, and that would probably mean this is going to land at the very low end at about $80,000 US. I've seen dollar figures for the upper end trim as high as 120 or 130 for a starting point. If you've ever been around a Porsche before or a Porsche dealership looking at a new one, you know where they make all their money is on the option side of the equation. So those numbers will dramatically inflate if you want to make this car your own. The other good thing, if people in this space are intrigued, is that the federal tax credit will be in place, as far as I know, at least as we sit here today, for Porsche, meaning they have a $7,500 federal tax credit available to people who buy among the first 200,000 Porsche badged electric vehicles. So yeah, that's a nice little discount off the top right there. So let me tell you how I got here. So we bought the Model X back in December, and as the year came to an end, there was a lot of noise about the tax credit at Tesla expiring. They had a lot of Tesla Model 3s for quick delivery, and I did toy with the idea of a Model 3 Performance. But what happened was I got into the X and realized that quality, build quality in particular, was left wanting. And granted, I've driven nicer German cars for a period of time, and so that is a high bar to reach up to. So while the tech and the gizmos are fantastic in Tesla, I think it would be hard to argue that in some instances the production quality isn't in line with the price tag, let's say. So I don't exactly remember how I got on this Taycan track. I'm now firmly on there and I'm along for the ride, and I've got my deposit in there just in case I want it and I can be among the first few thousand to get my hands on one. And I would assume if you've seen any of these images that any kind of car person would see some of the attraction to that. Anyway, I won't go on anymore. I'm a little worried that, it could become a Panamera Light, whereas I'd rather see it as a 911 large with 4 usable seats. I have some concerns about charging at home. Will there be 3 variants? What will the battery levels be? What will the range be? Although they've said 300 miles plus, will that only be in the upper ranges? So there's a lot of questions yet hanging out there. And by subscribing and clicking that bell icon, you can come along for the ride as we get those learnings. So that's enough for me. Tell me what you do. Would you buy a Tesla? Would you buy the Taycan, the Cross Turismo? Maybe you just say, don't waste your money on any of that, buy a fantastic combustion engine Porsche. I'd love to hear that and start the dialogue down below. Thanks for checking in, everyone. Be memorable, be well, and we'll be talking about this more soon. Ciao!